Our presentation is on modeling the spread of rumors through social network.
So basically, we were thinking about the fact that when something happens that society or community deems like rumor worthy, they're very interested in it. It tends to get out very quickly. I'm sure we've all experienced that. Something happens in your high school class, and then the next day everyone has heard about it. But how exactly does it get around that quickly? And that is through the social network. And we decided we wanted to model this, but we're doing it in a much smaller form. There's a lot of information about modeling kind of social networks and rumors already, but a lot of it is very large, and it's also done through social media. And so we wanted to do our model only utilizing 4 people. Obviously, you can add more to the model. It's very changeable if you have more people, but yeah, and we had it through like word of mouth instead of social media. Yeah.
So this is our legend. In the base level, we included 9 states, which included the rumor happening, person 1 through 4, and then each person's boredom state. And then we have in the first ramification level, we have the connection weights between person 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and 3 and 4.
Yeah, to restart that, on that side you have the rumor happening node, that's that RH1, and that gets passed along to our first person, that's P1, and then we made it a very like cyclical kind of formation. So person 1 will pass the information on to person 2, obviously, but also to person 3 and also to person 4. And we made it like this because that's how a rumor spreads in real life. You're not just going and telling the next person in line, like, oh, this happened. You're going to go and you're going to tell everyone. And you can see in this way, we have them connected back to the person who originally told them. So like person 2 is connected back to person 1. In the same kind of way, you're not just going to hear something from somebody once and never talk about it again with them. You can go back, you can talk to them again. You may even forget that they were the one who told you originally and try to tell them again. Also, we have these boredom states that Carly mentioned, and that's a really kind of new part of our model. We wanted to give the impression that when like people are not always 100% invested in a rumor, and over time things become less interesting, not everything is hot news all the time. So we added these boredom states, and they are only connected to their individual person. Boredom states obviously are not cyclical, they're not connected to each other in any way. They're just connected to that individual's emotion because that is their emotion. And then we have our second ramification level that has the connection with representation states. And those are just connected to the people, obviously. And same kind of deal with the speed factor on top, but you can see the adaptive nature with the arrows coming down to the connection weights. Okay, so this is for our original simulation. We have some of our matrices. So the first one, this is our initial values. Obviously, most of them are 0. Before anything actually happens, there isn't like a gossiping state that they're already sitting at. So obviously, those would start at 0. But then for our first and second ramification levels, those nodes, we gave a little bit of a leg up. Those connections already existed, first of all, like before anything else happened. And we wanted to give them kind of a boost to make sure that they would actually run in the simulation. And then this is base connectivity. Not much to say. It just looks like our graph, or our 3D conceptual representation that you guys just saw. But one thing to point out is that we made the connection weight here, x10 through x12. Those are connected back to x10 through x12. We wanted to give it a persistence factor here, so that's why those are in it. And we have some more. So for our first one, these speed factors, obviously we wanted the rumor to run very, very fast. It's an event that is taking place, and we wanted it to go very, very quickly versus the people. They pass it on just a little bit slower. And then the boredom states, we wanted to come in slower because we wanted to be able to see the people's reaction to the rumor happening before the boredom kicks in. And then you can see the adaptivity there too. And for connection weights, most of them pretty self-explanatory. We gave the negative correlations here, we gave a weight of -2. This is because we really wanted the boredom to take effect, and just like in real life, it was kind of hard to get the nodes to stop gossiping. So we had to make it a little bit stronger there. Yeah, and those are the most important things, except right here where I mentioned the persistence values, we didn't give them a perfect persistence value because that's just not very realistic to real life. So we gave it 0.9 versus 100% 1. And we're almost done. These are pretty self-explanatory. We wanted the functions that we were using. We wanted a logistic, and then we used a step mod for the rumor happening just because we wanted it to occur over and over again, because that is how rumors perform in real life. There's always something new to be talking about. Yeah, and you can kind of see the values there for the intervals. And we just had, different thresholds to create the graph that we were trying to form. And this is the graph. So you can see that big blue line there that is traveling in waves. That's the rumor, and that's coming every once in a while. That's why we did the step mod function. The people there, you can see are rising after the rumor. They're going a little bit slower, and they stick around for a little bit after the rumor has already ended, per se. And then they start going down as these boredom states here start going up. So as they get more bored, they stop starting the rumor, and it comes down again. You can also see the connection wave is kind of plateauing in between when people are not active, and the speed factor representation states are on the bottom in that same kind of up and down motion.
So for the first scenario, we wanted to see what happens if everyone is more invested in the rumor. And to do this, we changed both the speed factor and the thresholds for the people 1 through 4. And I'm just showing you the matrix that we changed. The two main ones that we changed were the speed factors and the combination function parameter. As you can see, person 1 we increased to 0.9, and then it decreased by 0.1 all the way to person 4. And then through the threshold, we did it in the opposite manner. We started with person 1 starting at 0.6, and then we increased it by 0.1 until person 4. And then this was the result of the simulation. As you can see, it's a bit more steep, and the people are much closer to the rumor state. And that is what we expected and what we wanted to see, because the people are more interested in the rumor, so therefore they're going to be closer to it. And then for scenario 2, we wanted to know what would happen if the opposite occurred, where people were less interested. And this was done the same manner by changing both the speed factors and the threshold for person 1 to person 4. And we changed the exact same matrices, the speed factor and the combination function parameter, but we changed it in the opposite manner. So now the speed factor for person 1 started at 0.6 and increased by 0.1 all the way to person 4. And then again, we did the thresholds in the opposite manner. So person 1 now started at 0.9 and then decreased by 0.1. And then those were the results for scenario 2. And then when we compare them into scenario 1 being the first and scenario 2 being the second graph, scenario 2 was a little less steep, and the people are a little further from the rumor line because they're less interested. So again, that is what we expected to happen. And then for scenario 3, we were interested in what happens when one person isn't affected by their boredom state. So to do this, we disconnected person 4 from their boredom state, which in the matrix you can see because X9 no longer has a connection to X5, and then X5 no longer has a connection to X9. And you can see in the connection weight, we also took away their connectivity. And then that resulted in this graph being much more of a dramatic change. The main focus being the green line, because that's person 4. And as you can see, their peak is further, it's wider, which does make sense because they were interested in the rumor more because they didn't get bored of it. So it does make sense that that one is further along compared to the rest. And then these are the 3 graphs all combined. As you can see, the first scenario 1 and scenario 2 are very similar to each other with just minor differences. First, number 3 is much different.
Okay, and for our last scenario here, we wanted to see what happens if the rumor doesn't get passed along. Like I talked about, like rumors can actually be very helpful. They've been a very important part of human society for many years, just because it's a really efficient way to get information around. Obviously, it's not always correct, but sometimes it is, and then it's helpful. So we wanted to see, oh, well, what happens when the rumor doesn't get passed along? So we demonstrated this by heightening just the connection of the board of state of person one, since they were the one who got the original message that the rumor was happening, per se. So yeah, you can see here we went from having it at a -2 to having it at a -5. So that's obviously much larger. It's going to have a bigger effect. And for this, they give us these results, which are kind of messy, but you can see that the rumor, the people are not nearly as invested, and the peaks aren't as high, they aren't as steep, and they don't last for as long. And you can even see in this second kind of iteration of it that they don't even reach half the height of their normal reaction. Person one may get the rumor, but then they just, get so bored of it so quickly that they don't barely pass it on, and then there isn't as much of a reaction of the rest of them there. So yeah. So in conclusion, we thought our model was pretty successful in showing how the rumor is spread by word of mouth in a smaller community, and we think that it could be utilized for much larger ones. The big thing here that we think we did is adding the boredom states. You're better able to model real kind of human reactions to rumors and to gossip by having a human emotion, boredom, come into play, because people are not always going to be interested in something, especially as time kind of extends. Yeah, and that's not something that we found in anyone else's work, so we thought it was an important contribution. Okay, are there any questions?